Are we streaming now?
Just do a refresh. Yeah, we are. It's literally like 3 seconds behind.
That's odd.
Quite weird.
I wonder why it stopped streaming before.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, but was it streaming before and then it stopped?
It seemed to have, yeah.
Okay, well, we don't want to have that happen again. Sorry, listeners, if we have got anyone listening out there, we're encountering some issues, as Warren would say, issues.
That's right. We got some issues.
We got some issues. Yes.
And I definitely think next week we will be right back on StreamYard, unfortunately.
God, this is very hard listening to this real delayed.
It is, isn't it?
Hold on. Fucking.
You got to find the mute button.
I've got it. There we go.
All right. Well, do we want to start over?
Yeah, let's do take two. God.
If you're watching us, we're not professional. We're very apologetic for these issues, but hopefully, if you are here, if there is anyone here, then you stick with us. Anyway, my name is Nimmer. Welcome everybody to the latest episode of the Anatad Podcast. This is episode number 51. And I'm here in California, where we've got 3 million acres burned across just this state so far this year. That is over 12,000 square kilometers. And I've got a guest from, where is he from? Ukraine. Hello.
Hello, Nimmer. I have flown all the way to the Ukraine today to be with you and our lovely listeners. Isn't this nice?
Yes, quite lovely.
So, Nimmer, crazy fires over there, my friend. You stay safe. I believe the air quality has been pretty average, but obviously not as bad as it was. You were saying to me earlier today.
Yeah, the air quality isn't as bad, and I think it's probably because there's a floor layer of fog. But definitely there's a lot of smoke, and we've gotten no sun for the past few days for sure. They keep saying it'll be 30 degrees, about 85, 86 Fahrenheit, and we never seem to bypass 68 degrees or about 20 degrees Celsius. So
yeah. Well, we had a similar thing this year, of course, from about October, November through till February. All around Australia, we had about 3 states burning at one point. And the air quality was absolutely dreadful. So I can completely sympathise. It's not much fun at all. But yeah, it's a definite shout out there to everyone that's experiencing those bad times. It would not be fun. So we're definitely thinking of you.
Yeah. Well, if you notice that we are doing it at a strange time, it is because Marco is going to be busy this weekend, and he's got a lot of things going on. And I'll be taking a trip this weekend. So we have decided to do the podcast live tonight. Unfortunately, we are without Brother Warren, at least live, although I think he says that he's recorded some kind of
well, yes, but whether we can get access to that or not is debatable. Maybe the good Lord will come through with it later on today. Who knows?
Let's hope so. Warren, if you're listening to this, I don't know if he is. I think he's doing some Bible study.
I think he's got a couple of amens to get through. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hallelujah, brother.
Yes. Well, we're glad that you're with us today, and I posted an email to the Anatad group, the email list, and I just want to share this with you guys. So we have reached a total of, since we've moved over to Buzzsprout, this was probably about 7 or 8 weeks ago, we've reached over 2,500 plays
Wow.
podcast that we know about, and that is without the YouTube subscribers and such. So
Well, we can probably tag on. We can probably tag on at least another. I don't know, Nimmer. What do you reckon? 300, 300,
maybe.
Yeah,
200,
couple
somewhere
hundred.
around there.
So 2,700 plays, I'd say, over what's that? About 8 weeks. Yeah, be about
like
8 weeks. Yeah.
Well, we couldn't do that without your help, and we really appreciate it. Now, we're not stopping here, and we do want you to share this stream and or the podcast website, anatadpodcast.com, with anybody that you know. Please like this video if you're watching it. Subscribe. It's really important that you do these things. And if you can, provide us with some ideas of what you'd like to see so that we can keep putting together these nice podcasts for all of you. And if you know anyone that would like to be on this podcast as a guest, or any app developer that might like to come on, or anyone that you'd like to see come on, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
And on that side of things, of course, listeners, we are definitely looking for interesting guests. So don't think that we're not doing that. The show, we know that obviously we need to change it up a little here and there. We have a bit of frivolity, we have a bit of serious stuff, we have a lot of news, and a lot of other bits and pieces in the show. But we definitely know that people are keen on guests coming on. So we are looking into that, and it's not that we don't want guests on. It's just a matter of getting people to be available at the right times, etc., etc. So we're definitely looking into that, aren't we, Nimmer? It's something we do care about.
Definitely, yes. We'd love to see some guests on, and we'll continue doing what we can.
Indeed. So what's on the show today, Nim? What are we up to for the 51 episode, or 51st episode?
I'm looking at these notes, and they say introduce ourselves.
Oh, I think we've done that.
We've done that.
Yeah.
Thank our listeners. Yep, we've done that. All right. Now, we have some news items that we need to talk about. And
indeed, there's a lot in the news this week.
Yep, so we're going to talk about that.
Exactly.
We need to talk about a certain Android release in our main section this week that was just released.
A few unhappy pooches out there, I suspect, in Blind Land.
We'll see. Some may not be. I don't know. We also have some discussions around productivity to talk about, and
what's that?
What is available on both platforms and what isn't available on both platforms, and whether you even can be productive on a certain platform.
Can you? I guess you'll have to wait and find out.
And then if you want some entertainment,
now I don't even know about this, and I can't wait for this. My favorite section, Nimmer.
Yes, my favorite section. This podcast is going to be the listener email section.
Oh.
So if you don't usually listen to that, please stick around. If you're looking for some laughs, I promise you're going to get some good laughs out of the listener section.
And of course, if you're listening to the recorded section, you can always flick forward and then flick back again using the chapter markers. Just find the listener email section. I'm sure it'll be worth it.
That's right. Okay. Well, what's new in the news?
So, Warren, you take it away, I believe, with some interesting information about 5G. That you were talking about this a few weeks back, but I believe there's been some further official studies done.
Yes, so there's a number of entities that measure how good the mobile networks are, particularly here in the States. And one of those that is really big on testing, and they do some scientific testing. They don't just do the crowd-based testing. There's two types of testing mostly. You can do everybody runs speed tests, and then of course somebody averages those all together. And that's like if you run a speed test app, it's a company called Ookla, and that's exactly what they do. The problem with that is it benefits larger cities, or it benefits the carriers that allow people to run speed tests without using their data, which is what T-Mobile does. But it doesn't really tend to give you a realistic idea of how good a network is, because it doesn't tell you all the times that a person doesn't actually get to connect to the network. The other source is the other way of doing testing is sort of like a mixture of get some paid people to go do what's called drive testing. and they log a number of different categories, and they drive to throughout a good lot of places, and they do testing using specific handsets to try to figure out what the networks are like. RootMetrics is an entity that does these, and I know they do some in the UK as well and some other places. But they came out with a semi-annual. They do this twice a year. It's a U.S. State of the Mobile Union report. And this is for, they measured the first half of 2020. Let's see here. I'll tell you exactly what they've done here. They have driven 202,923 miles.
Ay.
They usually drive more, but because of COVID, they didn't do as much this year. Over 3,000 total places visited.
And here in Melbourne, we're not allowed to go any further than 4 miles away from our house. So lucky they're not here.
Yeah, they performed 2,722,153 total tests. They also said in response of the pandemic, RootMetrics suspended scouting operations starting in March 2020 to ensure the safety of employees and communities. In early June, we resumed testing using a modified scouting approach that included extensive safety measures and strict adherence to local and national COVID-19 guidelines. I didn't know there were national guidelines. Anyway.
Neither did I.
Let's talk a little bit about what they found, shall we? They found, of course, that Verizon is the best in most of the categories except speed. So AT&T is the fastest network with an average speed. They have fast speeds across the board, but an average speed across the entire country of 42 megabits per second.
Yeah, that's moving, I guess.
Well, when you consider that a lot of this country is rural land, yeah, it is definitely, it's kind of an averaged out. There's a lot of places.
Oh, sure, there'll be places that are a lot quicker. Sure, absolutely.
Verizon is 36 megabits per second, so they're a bit behind.
That's significantly slower, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I hate to think what T-Mobile would be.
AT&T is, or I'm sorry, T-Mobile is 20 megabits.
Wow.
Sprint was 28.4 megabits. Now, this is before they merged.
Yeah.
I don't think Sprint's going to be tested much anymore. But it's got to tell you, T-Mobile is pretty slow.
Well, 20 megabits, that's terrible. I mean, that's barely ADSL2 speeds anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Now, imagine if you're on a network that's particularly congested. Goodness, that's not great at all.
Yeah, it's not good. So, let's see here. Verizon won most of all the other awards. They either won or shared those awards. So,
well, from the sounds of it, Nimmer, if you've got Verizon or AT&T, you're probably on a bit of a winner either way, depending on what part of the country you're in, from what I can tell by what you're saying.
Yep, that's right. So AT&T takes home the United States network speed score with fast speeds, and they pulled away from Verizon. Speed consistency, so they're very consistent in their speeds. Not only in metropolitan markets, but also beyond metropolitan markets. They also shared the United States Text Score Award, so they have reliable texting with Sprint and Verizon. I'm not sure why Sprint's on the list, but I guess it can't be that difficult to send a text. I don't know.
That's the only thing left that you can do on Sprint, ladies and gentlemen, is send texts.
Sprint apparently improved in 5 categories in the national level and earns a share on the U.S. Text Award with Verizon and AT&T, and showed strong improvement in the national testing results. So Sprint ranked 4th in all categories last time.
Okay, so
5
they've gone up one.
categories last time. So they've gone up a bit.
Yeah.
Sprint offered strong results. I don't care. Let's skip to T-Mobile here. T-Mobile delivers strong text results, although they're not as good as the other ones, but ranks 4th in 6 categories. T-Mobile typically performs much better in metropolitan markets than it does on the national level, and that remained the case. Their text award was 90%, so that's okay. It's not great. The other ones were like 95. Verizon, they shared or won 6 out of the 7 awards, except for the speed one. That went to AT&T. They won the categories of overall performance, network reliability, data performance, and call performance for the 14th straight time. They also won the Accessibility Root Score Award outright. So that's, how much you can access a specific network and latencies and such. So anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to link this. If you want to look at this later on, then feel free to look at that. If you care about this, the takeaway, though, is Verizon is definitely the best. AT&T is kind of second in most areas, except they're the fastest. And if you consider Sprint or T-Mobile, you probably shouldn't unless you want not a good network experience. Or they work well in your area, which I guess might be the case. But
now, on a completely different source of news, it looks like the OnePlus's first smartwatch is going to be a circular watch, Nimmer, which would sort of make you think that it's going to look very similar to a Samsung watch. And obviously, that would suggest to me and probably to all our listeners, it's not just going to be a rebranded Oppo watch, which is interesting. Looks like it recently showed up in Indonesia, and that's where they're getting this information from. It's likely that the watch will be released later this year.
well, are you going to get the OnePlus watch? Is it plastic?
No, I won't be. Look, again, I have absolutely nothing against, and I'll continually say this because I am very firm about this opinion. I have nothing against anyone from specific places or anywhere from around the world. What I do have is concern about products that come out of China and the government there having control of those products. That is.
You have a good experience with China, but they have a good food. Why
No, I have a very good
food from
experience.
China?
I have a very good experience with anyone that lives there. As I said, I have no dramas with that at all, and I have many, many Chinese friends. What I don't appreciate is constantly, and it's not just one source, you do hear it quite a lot, and I know a lot of people don't seem to care about this sort of stuff, but I certainly do, and I know that you do, Nimmer. I do care about security, and therefore I will never own a OnePlus device, whether it be a watch or a phone, but that's just me.
I think a bigger deal for me is that at the moment, the watches just frankly aren't very good. And the best one, if I had to go out tomorrow and I had to go out and get a watch, I'd get an Apple Watch now.
So would I. And
Apple, unfortunately, does not work with Android. If they did, I would already have one. I'd be the first one in line to get one.
Yep.
But they don't. The second watch that I would get would be probably Samsung Watch 3, but that is far behind the Apple Watch on my list of watches to get, which is exactly why I haven't gotten it. They do have some good sensors, but the problem with that watch is there's a number of apps, number of issues with accessibility. A lot of apps won't open with accessibility running. There's been reported issues with their sensors not being accurate, which if you're going to get a watch with tons of sensors, you would hope that the watch would be accurate.
Well, look, the OnePlus,
I'm not keen on any of the watches, and that one doesn't even run Android Wear. Now, I have played around with Android Wear watches. Things like Google Maps navigation isn't, at least when I played with it, was not accessible. You couldn't really do a whole lot with your watch. If you wanted to use it as a way to control your music, or if you wanted to, I don't know, look at your notifications, okay, fair enough, works okay. If you wanted it as a secondary health tracker, that connected with Google Fit, okay, fair enough, sure, why not? But they don't tend to have that many sensors, and again, if you want to have anything to do with really good accessibility on a watch, one of the features that both Samsung and Apple watches have is the ability to tell the time via haptics.
That is
cool.
So
you can have the time vibrate to you, so you don't have to have the time blare out to someone. And that, to me, is one of the number one first uses of a watch is, hey, guess what? I need it to be a watch. And I don't want to struggle to hear my watch in a meeting or, have it blare out the time. So, yeah, those are the two watches I would consider. I wouldn't even consider at this point an Android Wear watch. It needs to come a long way. And I really wouldn't consider the Samsung watch. But if you had to get one, I'd probably go that route. Or if you just want the fitness stuff, I'd probably go with a Fitbit that had a lot of sensors or something. Or, again, the Apple Watch is good enough.
in any case, I guess for those that are OnePlus fans and that are happy to order their products, I mean, they have released the Nord, obviously. They've got a couple of other budget phones coming out as well, Nima.
Yeah.
So, and of course the Buds. I forgot about the Buds. They're OnePlus Buds, whatever they're called. They're officially called. But I guess a watch added to that. They've got a fairly wide suite of products. But as I said earlier, not for me, but I'm sure for a lot of other people.
Now, this next article is kind of interesting to me because it used to be back in, 2016 or something like that. If you had a iPhone 6 and you stuck that thing in your pocket the wrong way, that thing would bend. And apparently now they're making them so that they're meant to bend. What's going on here?
Well, it looks like Apple and Samsung, which seems very odd to me, are collaborating here, Nima, because Apple have apparently ordered the displays from Samsung for their foldable phone. Do you know anything about a foldable phone from Apple?
Well, I do know that it is a rumored device, of course, that they're probably 2021 that they're looking at making foldable phones. So look, right now the Samsung has kind of the leader in the space. Motorola's got something too. Samsung has two folding phones and they're both different.
Well, the first one, of course, you could put your finger through the window. That was quite a unique design feature, I thought.
And so that one is the Fold. And that one is it has a large, it's a tablet, essentially. It's a really, really large phone tablet. And it folds kind of widthwise. So if you unfold it, then you have a really large screen. So you can essentially carry your tablet in your pocket. Yeah, that one definitely had some issues. If you stuck something in between the thing, or if something got in there, then the screen would break. You pushed.
Oh, it was a good dust collector as well.
Great dust collector. If you tried to peel away the screen protector when you first got it, it wasn't actually a screen protector, so you broke the phone. It wasn't meant to peel, I guess. If you tried to fold it and there was something stuck in there, it could be broken. You couldn't really put a case on there. You couldn't really put any kind of a screen protector on it. Yeah, that's the Fold 2. Well, the original Fold as well. I think the original Fold didn't last very long.
No, I think that was only around for about a month or so, or not even that actually. I think it was only out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Before they pulled it.
Now, the other one is the Z Flip, and that one is more like the shape and dimensions sort of a flip phone, where the screen kind of folds open and shut lengthwise, sort of like a flip phone would. And when the thing is shut, there's a little tiny window of a screen on the one side. And so they've got those. Now, Samsung is apparently looking to make their own foldable phone, or Apple's looking to make their own foldable phone. Not too surprising, they're using Samsung displays. They tend to use Samsung displays anyway a lot of the time.
They do, yeah. Yep.
Because Samsung truly does make the best displays on phones.
Well, it looks like they were looking, and I'm just looking at a couple of other sources for this at the moment, they were looking at actually releasing this particular foldable apparently in 2023, but leaks suggest that this may well come out a lot sooner, and we may well either see it towards the end of 21, early 20, well, probably 22 more likely, but looking like it'll be in the next year or so. Now, if Apple releases a decent...
Apple is behind, but if Apple can... what Apple does is they tend to do this thing where they're doing it with 5G. They've done it with a lot of technologies. So they kind of sit back. They kind of let the Android manufacturers kind of flop around, do whatever, la, 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 la. And then Apple comes along and reinvents it. And all of a sudden, it's the greatest thing ever. Whether it's actually better or not is to be seen. We don't know. But it's kind of a thing they do. And they've done it with NFC. They did it with so many technologies that Android had a long time ago. And then Apple comes out. This is the best thing. This is the best thing we've ever put in a smartphone.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of contrary information here. Some people are reporting that potentially, and this has been reported in the past, that the foldable may be an actual iPad, so it'll be a foldable iPad. Some people are reporting that it was supposed to be a dual screen, similar to like the Surface. I think it's the Surface Duo. Similar to that, but apparently now, they're thinking perhaps because it's gone over to Samsung, or they're getting the Samsung displays, that strategy may have changed. So I don't think a lot of people really know exactly what's going on. There's lots of various information here that seems a bit contradictory. So
it would surprise me if they made a folding iPad but did not put a cellular modem into it. I'm not sure you'd make an iPad without making it into an actual phone if it was folded. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll be completely frank. If Apple brought out a decent foldable, I'd probably jump on it. If it's an iPad, I'm not so interested. But if they did bring it out as a phone, and it was a foldable similar to the Samsung, I think I'd be quite interested, because they probably do a decent job at it, you'd think. But
I don't know. I'd like to see the flip phones come back. Who knows?
Oh, so would I. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I think even with the new Samsung, the second gen ones, the specs aren't, the amount of money on those that you've got to spend, the specs aren't top notch though.
The specs are great.
The specs are okay, but
fantastic. The biggest weakness of the specs is the battery.
Yeah, the battery's terrible.
The specs are terrible. Actually, you're getting the latest processor.
Yeah, but you're only getting, a 3200 milliamp battery or something like that? It's not great. So.
But you're getting everything else is top, get a good amount of RAM. You're getting top processor, 8X.
Yeah, but Nimir, if I'm paying that sort of money, I want a decent battery. Yeah.
Well, I would too, but how many times have we seen flagship phones without decent? Look at even the Note 20 Ultra. I love that phone. But do you know that the Galaxy S20 Ultra has a bigger battery than the Note 20 Ultra?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting.
So it's... How many times do we see manufacturers skimping out on battery? And I don't know why they do this. And I think they have this thing of users want thin phones, and I'd much rather give me a little bit of a thicker phone in exchange for a much bigger battery. I'll take a slightly thicker phone. I don't know.
Oh, so would I. Absolutely. Now, moving right along here, Nimmer, we have a little bit of interesting information about Office, which particularly interests me. This, I think, is excellent. That you can now collaborate easily. Now, not on the online, because you could do this online already before, but this is obviously offline. Easily between G Suite and Microsoft, from the look of it here, Nim.
Yeah, so this is always possible on a desktop, on a computer, and now they've brought this over to Android, so you can now edit your Microsoft Word Docs files in Google Docs. Just really good. You can collaborate with those, so don't have to bother with converting them and everything else.
Oh, that converting was a pain. Yeah, that was annoying. And also, I think they used to use some sort of Office. I forget what it was called. Was it Visual Office or something, which was painful. Yeah. Quick Office, that was painful.
What I'd like to see is a lot of improved work on. Well, we'll talk about that in productivity.
Well, that's what I was thinking. This will come down under productivity later on, in particular. But
yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, though. I think, without preempting what you're going to say, because I think we're probably going to be thinking down similar lines later on in the podcast, I would suggest that those wanting to utilize this nice little feature would probably want a Bluetooth keyboard. That would help significantly. But I'll leave that little chestnut there and we'll move on.
All right, so we have not forgotten about Android 11. We're going to put that in the main section of the podcast, but we do have Samsung is rolling out their beta.
So it looks like they're doing pretty much the same 3.0, or Samsung One UAI 3.0. Looks like they're rolling it out in Korea and the US initially. I believe they've
on specific carriers.
You do. This is the thing you've got to be careful of, and I don't think Verizon's one of them from the look of it.
It is not. Nope. No. Sprint or T-Mobile. You also have to. Well, they're not even taking sign-ups anymore. They're full. But
there is another beta coming along, though.
There should be. And the reason that we're bringing this up, I think it's just important to know that they are already working on Android 11. So I think hopefully that means we will see a faster rollout.
I would expect we'll get this by November. Hopefully all going well. I reckon we'll get it by November.
So. Now, U.S. carriers, you're probably stuck till March, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Samsung is very slow in updating carrier versions of devices. So if you have the unlocked one, you should probably get it a bit faster. If not,
you'll be waiting a few more months.
Sorry, you might be waiting.
But luckily, I've got an unlocked one.
Some of these.
But no, it's quite exciting. It looks like there'll be at least 7 countries. I know the main countries there will obviously be Korea, China, UK, and US. The main ones, I believe Germany's also in there as well, so that you Germans will be able to have access to it. But the other important thing to remember, it is only available on the Galaxy S20 series. You cannot run this particular beta on any other device. It's very specific about that in the article. So keep that in mind if you haven't got an S20.
Notes and the Z Folds and all that will also be getting this. Possible that they will see betas as well.
Yeah, that's possible, but it hasn't been confirmed, I don't believe. From what I've read...
The notes I've seen are confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Another article, we'll see if I can get that and link that. But otherwise, some of these other phones, I'm not sure if they will see betas. But certainly the Note 20s will be... Usually
it's basically this year's phones.
S20s,
it's basically this year's phones. Anyone that's got a phone from before this year in the Samsung land, you're probably not going to... Well, you're not going to be able to look at the beta. So it is what it is.
All right. Google Pixel 3 and Pixel 4 users. Oh, man. This is another hardware issue with Google Pixel phones. Oh, my goodness.
Does this sort of have a familiar ring about it, Nimmer? This seems to be something that's been sort of on and off for Google for the last little while.
Look, you know what? After so many lawsuits, after so many times Google's gone to court and settled with users, and after so many times they've had to pay users essentially for issues, you'd think they'd try to be careful of getting some of this stuff right. And these battery issues, I said a long time ago, after the Samsung exploding Note 7, they were probably going to have the best batteries in the industry. I would have hoped that Google or other ones would have tried to learn from them, but it seems like that may not be the case. So,
well, it looks like it's predominantly Google 3 and XL or 3XL users. Apparently this has been going on since May, and I have seen a heap of stuff come out on this online.
Pixel 4 as well, possibly.
4 as well, yep. And yeah, this is just an ongoing issue for Google. This has been going on for a while.
Really early for Pixel 4 to be having battery swelling. I can kind of see the Pixel 3. It's almost a year old.
Yeah, but for a Pixel 4 to be having this already?
The Pixel 4 or 2 years old, I guess. Yeah, but the Pixel 4 is not even a year old. You know, when you have a phone that's less than a year old that's already having these problems, that is rather concerning.
Yeah, you don't really want a brand new phone being pregnant, do you?
2-year-old phones, you know, you're kind of starting to get the end of that lifespan. You know, at any point now, you should probably replace the battery, and you should probably expect something to go wrong. 2 to 3 years, that's kind of, you know, they're mobile devices that are running around your pockets and thrown around and dropped and everything else. But a Pixel that's less than a year old, that's kind of, it's a little
Now, keep in mind that if you are having this issue, it's a lot more likely that you'll get a replacement from Google than what you will from your carrier, but Google are only replacing refurbished products. So your new phone will be refurbished.
Yeah, that's always the case. Anytime
So
you
that's the way it is.
get a new replacement for a device, it's always the only time they send you a brand new one is if they just don't have refurbished ones.
Indeed, but that's fairly common for Google. They've been doing that forever. So, yep, it seems like Google's still not learning to sort out their batteries, and a little bit concerning. And like you said earlier, Nima, very concerning that it is affecting this year's models. But we go on to something very important here, Nima, and that's to remind our listeners, of course, that we are on episode 51 of the Anatad Podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, please remember to like, share, subscribe. We do advertise on quite a few groups. We really do appreciate those that do share the posts out. We're trying to grow our family, obviously, and we really do appreciate having you guys listen on a weekly basis. And if you are enjoying it, like I said before, please like the video. Please subscribe to both the video and the podcast. As soon as it drops, you will get it. And obviously, the final thing as well, please think about leaving us a review, especially if you're on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store or Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. Please think about leaving us a review, or Podcast Addict. That would be very much appreciated. I did see that we had a review on Podcast Addict from someone whose name escapes me now, but it was back on around about the 24th of August. So thanks very much for the nice 5-star review. And I believe we've got a couple of reviews on Apple Podcasts. So it takes a couple of minutes. Please, if you do enjoy what we put out each week, do that as well. Nima.
Yep, that's very good. Let's see here. Looking to see. We don't have any chats. We do have 4 people watching, though. So
well, I'm one of them muted.
Thank you very much. I think I'm one of them as well. Probably in 2 windows. So,
yeah, I'm keeping that open just to make sure that we're still going out live, because I don't like this feeling, Nima, when I don't trust something that it's going to work, if you get my drift. But it seems to be going all right at the moment.
It stopped working once, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what was released this week. We've got a new build of Android 11. Well, not new. This is actually new for everybody who's not been running beta. This is the actual release. And it was released on mostly Pixel phones. 4, 3, 3A, 4A, 2.
Yep.
The XLs.
The XLs, yeah.
So it was released on those. There were a couple of other devices that were released that probably nobody has. A Realme or something. A Xiaomi.
Was
OnePlus,
released.
I think,
was it the Oppos as well, or the OnePluses?
Oppo, one of them. Yeah, something like that. Probably none of you have those devices. Maybe you do. I don't know. But most of the devices do not have Android 11 as of yet. Now, what is new in Android 11? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to post an article that was put out by, who was that? Android Authority? Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Android Authority. And they're going to tell us a little bit about what's new in Android 11. There's a number of things to do with notifications and the way those are set up, especially having conversation notifications, things like chat bubbles, screen recorder, things with media controls, smart devices, privacy, permissions. So there's a number of new features, and we're going to post this article. It's very easy to navigate. Got lots of headings. So in terms of accessibility, because this is what we tend to focus on, in terms of accessibility, we've got one of the things that I'm going to talk about as a mainstream feature. And one of them is it has to do with accessibility itself. Media controls, the way that those are done in Android 11 has sort of changed in that it used to be when you played music in Android 10 or below, if you pulled down the notification shade, you would have access to your music controls. Everything is right there. The whole thing's expanded, all that. Now they have in Android 11 conversations in the notifications. So any conversations or conversations you might want to have are put in that notification area. The music player has just very small controls, not very many, like a play, pause, or something. If you want to see the full controls of your music, you have to pull down the notification shade again to go into the quick settings. This is probably great for if you like to chat and you like your conversations to be more visible. Maybe not so good if you prefer to have your music in the notification tray. So there's that. There's a number of other enhancements and things. As I said, I'll link to the article. The other new thing for accessibility users is multi-finger gestures. Now, we have talked about this before in Anatad Podcasts. Multi-finger gestures are new to Android 11. If you have a device you would like to test Android 11 multi-finger gestures, you can open up your global context menu by swiping down, followed by right. So I'll demonstrate that here, although I don't have the option on this particular device. Oops, I'm banging around the microphone.
Device unlocked. 10:54 p.m. Messages.
So let's pull down the notification of the global context menu here.
Look global context menu. Read from top.
Let's go to talkback settings.
It's a little bit another notch of volume up if we can, Nim.
No.
Talkback settings. Navigate up button.
There we go.
Sound feedback, volume, audio, braille keyboard. Navigation,
Alright, so we're going to go all the way down to developer settings.
Privacy policy. Open feedback. Terms of service. Talkback, developer settings.
There we go. And I'm going to go into developer settings. Now, I don't have this option in here. I'm not running Android 11 on this particular device. If I was, there would be an option that would says multi-finger gestures, and you would check that box. And that is all it is.
Now, I guess the important thing for listeners to remember, and a lot of people do ask this question, Nimmer, is that you can still use the old gesture set with the new, in conjunction with the new. You're not just using one or the other. Is that correct? Yes,
that is correct. So to see all the gestures and to remap them, in the talkback settings, you can go to gestures.
Keyboard selector, show context menu as gestures.
Gestures.
Navigate up button.
And in here you have all the gestures that you possibly can do on your device. And if you tap on any of them,
swipe down and up, read from next item.
So it tells you what it's assigned to. If I want to change it, I can just double tap.
Swipe down and up, open quick settings.
And I can find any of the options.
Select previous screen search.
And select that as my, whatever that gesture is. The 3-finger and multi-finger gestures will show up there once you have enabled the multi-finger settings.
Excellent.
Okay. So, having said all that, should you be using multi-finger gestures? And what's new with multi-finger gestures? Well, one of the new things with multi-finger gestures is you have the ability to do more things. As an example, you now have a gesture for entering and exiting selection mode in an edit box, so you can easily select, copy, paste text, as well as gestures for those specific actions. You also have a specific gesture to what a lot of people in iOS land call magic tap. 2 fingers, double tap, will play music, will pause music, will answer your phone calls, will end your phone calls. The only difference is it does not start and stop the dictation. Whereas in iOS, it does start and stop the dictation.
That's a real bummer.
Yeah. This is very similar to the Samsung Voice Assistant, if you're used to that. It essentially works in the same way. So, there are a lot of gestures that did get changed as well. So, as example, you can use a 3-finger single tap to open the global context menu. You now have the ability to use 3-finger swipes, 3-finger swipe right, to navigate through your granularity options as well as settings options. For example, speech rate, verbosity, audio ducking, characters, words, lines, links, headings, all those things. Now when you go to the one you want, so for example, if you want characters, then use 3 fingers, swipe right to characters. You can now use swipe up to move to the previous character with 1 finger. Swipe down to move to the next character. This way, if you use swipe left and swipe right, they no longer affect your granularity. They're doing just a swipe left and right as they do now. So you don't have to switch granularities to be able to read by character or whatever else, and then you want to go to the next control or whatever. I don't know. It saves you one less having to switch granularities if you get my drift. And if you don't, it is late here, so maybe I'm not making any sense. Probably just babbling on.
Now, the other thing that I am interested to know, Nimmer, is if you are on a web page and you are, let's say, set to links, if you then go into another area or another page, does that setting stick or does it revert back to default? Because sometimes that can be quite irritating.
And so that depends on whether or not your focus has moved from the web view area. So as long as your focus has not moved from the web view area, it should stick to links. But of course, if you, for example, you're on a web page, you're navigating in web views, if for whatever reason you touch the top bar, where the tab strip is, or the more options, when you're not in web views, of course, links don't show up as a granularity option. And so therefore, once you hit back into web views again, then you'll have to probably change that back to links, although it should generally stick, but if it does not, you will have to go back into links.
Okay.
But generally, as long as you don't touch that top bar on the browser, then you shouldn't have any.
It should hold.
Yeah, it should stick there.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, well that sounds quite exciting. I know that quite a few people have been trying the beta.
Aware of. There are some issues to be aware of.
There have been a few reports of issues, so be cautious of this, listeners, if you are thinking of installing it, especially if it's on a main device, I suspect, Nimmer. Probably best for a backup device.
There are some people saying that there are some issues with sensitivity of gestures, so double tap doesn't always work. You might have to double tap again for something to be activated, which is a little bit irritating. I'm sure that will get fixed in time. Another issue has to do with the Google Assistant. Apparently, when TalkBack is enabled, the Google Assistant does not work on some devices.
Oh, good.
So if you want to use Google Assistant, you have to turn TalkBack off, use your Google Assistant, turn it back on. So that is
wonderful.
Kind of a serious issue. And hopefully, again, that gets addressed relatively quickly. But other than that, I think a lot of people are going to be happy with the gestures and the added functionality. And as was said before, you can always just choose not to use the multi-finger gestures and just stick with what you're used to. If you say, I hate multi-finger gestures, why did they do this? Okay, I don't want to hear it. Don't email us, please. Well, you can email us, but please don't. Just don't, okay? You can still use what you're used to.
And honestly, if you've only got if you've only got one device, and there have been a lot of reports of people having these issues, why put yourself through the grief? Maybe just wait a little while. It will get better. It'll definitely get better.
Yep.
These things happen, and that's why it's a beta. So I'm sure things will improve.
Now, in terms of productivity, and I know... well, before we continue, let's see if I missed any comments here. I don't know if I missed any comments. Nope, no comments.
No, I've got nothing here.
Very interesting. We have 4 people watching. I don't even know if you guys are actually there watching, but if you're there,
hopefully
out there.
It's counting upwards, Nim. So I think we're all good. And I guess if we get to the end of the show, at least we've got the recording.
I suppose so. Yeah, I did start recording on Zoom, didn't I?
You did, yes. I really think maybe next time we might just did Zoom though. It's
I think
I don't
it's
like this.
probably a good idea. I'm not a fan of this garbage. At least,
Anyway.
unfortunately, at least StreamYard worked well until they banned my account. But anyway,
That's another story for another day. Maybe we should have told that one on the 50th.
yes. Maybe we'll wait for the 75th for that one.
Yeah, we might wait for that. Oh, dear. Now, productivity. Yes, a very
productivity.
interesting topic, this one.
So,
One that is very close to Nimmer and my hearts.
you know, I'm an Android fanboy. And Marco, I don't know if he's as much of an Android fanboy.
Oh, no, I'm an Android fanboy, but I'm...
Warren is certainly an Android fanboy.
You know, I'm swayed either way. I'm what do you call it? I'm not left or right in terms of politics. I'm in the middle. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so you're a Trump supporter.
No.
All right, let's avoid the politics. It's okay.
Yeah.
I could have easily said Biden or anybody else. All right. Now, in terms of productivity, there's been a lot of debates in the blindness community on Android lists, and actually some people have been turned away from Android altogether because they make a statement, Android is not productive. And a lot of Android users kind of get mad and say, well, no, it's productive. And productivity is what a user wants to do with the device. And therefore, since I do what I want to do with my device, it's therefore productive. So I'm going to define what productivity means in this case. And that way, if you have an argument with me, then at least we can be on a level playing field of what productivity I'm referring to.
Oh, dear.
When I consider productivity, I mean the fact that anybody using a mobile phone can do certain things, right? So you can edit a Google Doc and or Word document. Would you want to edit a long Word document on a phone? You know what? Probably not. But the fact is that you can. All right? You can edit a spreadsheet in Excel or in Google Sheets and look at a spreadsheet in Google Sheets or Excel. You can read a document. You can take a note, do something like, PDF. And you can surf a web page and you can read emails. When I refer to productivity, I mean those tasks that people find themselves doing not necessarily out of pleasure, although you might read a document out of pleasure and edit a document out of pleasure, but more out of, hey, I'm commuting to work. I'm going to take a look at this email real quick, or I'm at work, and instead of I work from home, and I just want to. I don't have my computer in front of me for whatever reason. I'm just going to look at this document that my coworker sent me real quick and just type out a quick response. Things that you can do on a phone. You could do a lot more on a phone. Again, the question is, do you want to? That's kind of up to you. And I know a lot of people who do. I tend to like my keyboard, so I tend to stick to the computer for a lot of productivity tasks. But I do recognize that we do need to be able to do productivity tasks since, well, after all, that's what a smartphone, it's one of the main functions of a smartphone. In Android, and I'm talking now to the iOS users that are possibly looking at Android, it's kind of a mixed bag. Or if you want to know about this as an Android user, it's a mixed bag, as it is on any platform, but in Android, it's really a mixed bag. You know what I mean? Well, there are some really good note-taking apps on Android, and to-do list apps and such on Android. So if you're looking for a to-do list app to keep your to-do lists, you're looking to manage your calendar, you're looking to take notes, which are all productivity tasks. They're very doable on Android. You can use Google Keep. You can manage your notes.
Well, that's my
Google
personal
Calendar.
favorite. Google Keep, I do like that.
Yep. You can use Google Calendar, manage your appointments, create new ones, edit your new ones, navigate by month, by day, all these things. Have just an agenda view of all your events. That is all doable. You can, if you don't like the layout, you can use any number of calendar apps on the Play Store. I've probably got 5 on my device. To-do lists apps, create shopping lists and such. There's plenty of them. Todoist, I believe, has been reviewed on the Anatad Podcast by Michael Babcock in the past.
Oh, the Badcock. That's right.
I think
Yes.
episode, I don't know, way back. 20 or
26, I think it
something.
was.
Yeah, way back.
Mm.
Oh, man. You just want them to listen to that.
I noticed the numbers went up, actually. Pardon me. I noticed the numbers went up, actually, Nimmer. So-
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Anyway, those are all doable tasks on Android. In fact, they're even really on both platforms. You can very easily take a note on Android as long as you have a good, comfortable typing method. We've addressed typing methods. So as long as you've got one that you prefer, such as Braille screen input, and you aren't missing something like direct touch or swipe or whatever on iOS, then you're good to go. You can do all these things. Where Android starts to kind of fall flat on its face is anything beyond that. Now, what I mean by that, if I want to read a word, a Google Doc, let's start with Google Docs. How would I read a Google Doc? If I touch the edit box of a Google Doc, I can't swipe through the Google Doc and have it read to me line by line, for instance. I can't swipe through the Google Doc in an easy manner. What I have to kind of do is what works best in a Google Doc, sort of touch and explore. I'll put my finger on the screen, and hopefully I'm not missing any content. Hopefully I'm at the very beginning of the line. Hopefully nothing's been indented, and I'm not missing content too terribly much, and I can just touch and explore a line at a time and have that read out loud. If you try to do a read from a next item, that doesn't really work in a Google Doc. Editing and collaborating is tough on a Google Doc. You know, you can certainly edit a Google Doc. It's tough. Not as bad as reading, probably. Still tough.
It's not wonderful. No.
Not wonderful. Now, if you're using Microsoft Office Word, that one does allow you to swipe, but it's got kind of its own accessibility issues. And I'm hoping, like, I'm kind of getting the message across that all these apps kind of have their quirks. So if you want to do one task, then you play with one app and see what it does. And if it doesn't work, try out another one, see what it does. And if it doesn't work, try out another one.
I still haven't found the perfect one, for me anyway.
No, there really isn't.
No.
There really isn't. They've all got their own challenges. Word kind of lets you do more of the swiping until you get to scrolling, and then it kind of doesn't work so well, at least on my devices.
Yeah.
Google Docs, as I said, has issues with swiping at all. You kind of have to touch and explore the text. Spreadsheets, this is where it gets really bad.
This is really quite cool. I really enjoyed doing this with spreadsheets, but go on, Nimmer.
Yeah, so if you have a spreadsheet, you have to use 2-finger scroll right, left, up, and down to scroll the spreadsheet, because the only cells that you're going to have access to are the ones that are directly on your screen. You cannot navigate by row or by column without exploring the screen. So as an iOS, you have the ability to have row and column in your rota. And so if you use iOS, then you can, of course, put your rotor in row mode or column mode, and then swipe down with one finger to navigate by that element. In Android, we don't have that ability. It's really a shame, but we don't have that ability. And this affects
Surely that
more than
should be
just
something.
spreadsheets. This affects also tables as well. So if you're trying
Surely
to
this should be something that we can get one day, though, Nimmer. That would be excellent.
We can hope. But if you're trying to read something even like a table full of sports scores, which isn't quite productivity, but hey, we can call it that, you essentially can't do that on Android. You have to remember what each cell is. It'll read the column and row headers, but it's painful in the way that it does it. You swipe through and it's kind of going across all the columns, and then it goes down a row, across all the columns, down a row, across
It's
all
very
the columns.
slow, I think, is
Very,
what
very
we're
slow.
saying. It's slow.
Very slow, very painful, and there's no way to get exactly the information that you want without touching and exploring and hoping that you land in the right place. And then finally, email. Email's okay. There's a number of email programs that you can use, and you can certainly check your email You know, the trouble that we run into with email is the same trouble that we run into with web browsing, and that is web views.
Yep.
Because when you open up an email in most any of these apps, they're opening up in a web view. And the challenge with that is, if you have a short email, not so bad. If you start having long threads or a very long email, by the way, an example would be here in the States, if you subscribe to the National Federation of the Blind or American Council of the Blind, any of their newsletters. If you get any of their monthly
they're always fun.
newsletters,
Yeah.
those things go on for thousands and thousands. They're really long. I don't know. They're not thousands.
Or
pages,
here in
but they're
Australia,
quite
the
long.
same thing. Vision Australia or Guide Dogs newsletter. They're massive. They're 30
So if
pages
you try
long.
to open those up in web views, and you try to swipe through those, because exploring is kind of tough. It might or might not work. Scrolling is kind of janky. Kind of works okay sometimes. If you try to swipe, it may take 3 or 4 seconds between each swipe. So you might say to yourself, okay, well, I can just do a read from next and have it read all my email to me. No, doesn't quite. I mean, you can do that, but it's as laggy as actually touching the screen and swiping. There's a lag between each line as though it's actually swiping for you. It's really odd. And you can think to yourself, well, the alternative, I can use Google Assistant to read my emails. No, sorry. Not quite. Doesn't read it like a web page. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. So, in terms of productivity, I can tell you that when I pick up an iOS device, now, this isn't. Each platform has its pros and its cons, but if I'm looking to be productive, if I'm looking to actually be productive, Android is not the platform I would choose to use. I would choose a PC. I might choose an iPhone. Now, I would still choose a PC over an iPhone, even if I was using an iPhone full time, just because I still prefer a keyboard, but that's my own preference. But either way, I would choose an iPhone over an Android phone.
And this is very similar also, Nim, and I have spoken to a number of sighted people. They would, if they're looking at being completely productive and let's say they're writing articles or they're, I don't know, doing everyday tasks, generally people will still use a computer over a phone, generally.
Yeah.
What we are saying, though, is that a smartphone should be exactly that, whether you have a visual impairment or not.
Yep.
And at this point in time, and I completely concur with what you've said, I don't believe it's possible or easily possible. It is possible, but not easily on an Android device.
No.
So I would completely
Android
concur.
can be good at, you can play music, you can read your texts, you can even do some emailing, you can do some things. So for sure, take your notes, keep your calendar.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Make phone
Telegram,
calls.
it's definitely Telegram, WhatsApps,
Chat
and all that sort of
apps,
stuff. The chat
all these
apps,
things.
messengers. Yep.
All these things work quite well. Even Facebook, Twitter, on
Yep.
an Android device, these things actually work quite well.
Twitter, that's another one that's funny. If you've never logged in or signed up to Twitter, try getting past that first screen. That's always a ripper.
Especially if you have one of those dodgy carriers there in Australia, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah,
that
it's
true?
wonderful. Yes. But that's another story of non-accessibility anyway.
The accessibility of Twitter, though, in terms of
once
screen
you
reader
get past this,
accessibility, is actually
sure,
pretty
fine.
decent, and it
Yeah.
does give you, it gives you access to those quick actions. It gives you.
Twitter's definitely
swipe
one of the better
tweet.
apps. Yeah.
So there's a number of really good things that you can do on an Android device, and I would just have to say that unfortunately, the productivity side, especially as it comes to Sheets and Docs, and not just one product, I mean any app, is unfortunately not there. Now, if you're going to use Docs and you want to use it successfully, or Sheets, I would recommend the use of a Bluetooth keyboard. It will make your experience a tad bit better. Notice I didn't say Braille display, because when you have a Braille display, you're going to encounter issues with scrolling. You can certainly use a Braille display, but you're going to run into issues with scrolling, where you're going to have to reach up and touch the touchscreen to scroll a lot of the times. So I would recommend the use of a Bluetooth keyboard. And you probably will still have to do some scrolling even with that, but at least you'll be a little bit more, I think, productive is kind of a loose term, with a Bluetooth keyboard.
Effective, maybe.
Yeah.
It's more effective at doing what it's supposed to do, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a lot of stuff. But if you have any questions or you'd like to see a demo of anything specifically that I mentioned or anything like that, please let us know, and we'd be happy to do that. I think anything to do with productivity, and Marco can throw that anything in there too. But if you guys have anything that you want to know more about or see actually compared, we'd be happy to do that. This is kind of a chat about what we feel is kind of a shortcoming of Android. I think we try to be even-handed and point out when something is good and when it isn't. And in this case, I think we need a little more work on productivity.
And I'd be interested to hear from listeners who you might be shouting when you're listening to this podcast saying, no, you're completely wrong. I'd like to hear both alternate points of view. If people have them, feel free to email us at anatadpodcast@gmail.com and let us know exactly what side of the fence you're sitting on this, because I'm sure there are people out there, Nima, that would completely disagree. So it'd be interesting to see what their perspective is too. So the other thing, just before we...
if you can possibly, you can disagree, and I look forward to that. And I'm happy to receive that feedback, but I would like for you to do, and whether you agree or disagree, especially if you disagree though, if you can, either probably create a recording for us, or at least let us know very descriptively what it is that you think we are wrong about, or demonstrate that.
Indeed.
Because I think all of our listeners would like to know that.
Now, before we do move on, I do have to mention that I got a message from Gary, and I have responded back to Gary on this one over the last day or so. He apparently is now using commentary and wanted me to run through the whole copying and pasting, which I'm more than happy to do.
Commentary.
Yeah, apparently. So I'm happy to do that, but as I mentioned to Gary via email, we will leave it go until next week. I do need to, we already had quite a bit on this show, so we'll definitely run through a quick tutorial as to how to set up a gesture set to copy or cut and then paste text, not just in edit fields, but text anywhere, and we'll run through that in our tips section in episode 52.
Hey,
so
let's
we'll
do
definitely
that
do
with
it.
commentary and with iOS and with
And
TalkBack.
we'll do it with those three, I think, next week, Nima. We'll definitely go through that in our tips section.
Yeah, why not?
Now,
Right, so
I believe we
tip
have...
from Warren.
Well, we have got the tip. I was just about to get all excited, but I'll just contain myself, Nima. Because apparently this link, or whatever it is, works now. I don't even know what this tip is, but I'm sure you'll tell us, or tell me and all the listeners what we're tipping.
I'm going to see if I can do a screen share. This is going to be an interesting endeavor, because I don't know if it will share audio or not.
Uh-oh.
But we will try to do a screen share here, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then this is a great experiment, and you'll have to listen to the podcast to get this recording. Okay, let's see here.
Ooh.
Okay.
We have got audio coming through from your NVDA.
Excellent.
You might want to slow that Chinese down, though.
Nope, I'm going to just play the audio stream.
Oh, you're just going to play the audio stream? Okay.
There we go.
For episode 51 tip of the week, we'll be looking at how to set defaults and clear defaults of the browser. Step number 1. Open the quick panel by using 3 fingers to swipe from the top of the phone. I'll do that right now.
Quick settings, 6:48 p.m.
Step number 2. we want to find near the middle of the phone on the right edge where it says Open Settings.
Is it in the middle
If
or
you're
the right
using
edge?
NuGAD or earlier, that is, if you're using a phone that's running Android 7 or earlier, you're going to find that Open Settings near the top right corner of the phone. But as of Android Oreo 8.0 and higher, that
What,
Open
O and
Settings
higher?
is
What?
at the middle of the phone on the right edge.
Collab open settings button.
Tap here, Open Settings.
Settings. Search settings.
Step number 3, now that we are in system settings, what we're looking for is an item that says Apps and Notifications.
Apps and notifications. Assistant. Recent apps. Default apps. And list.
Tap here.
Apps and notifications. Back button.
The next window, this is step number 4, we're looking for the Advanced.
Assistant. Hey Google and other assistants. Advanced. Screen time. Default apps. Permission manager. Wireless emergency alerts. Special app access.
Tap here.
Recently opened apps.
Step number 5, now that we're in a new window, we're looking for App Defaults.
Notifications. Notification assistant. Hey Google and other assistant settings. Screen time. 2 hours. 43 minutes today. Default apps. Phone and messages.
Default Apps. Tap here.
Default apps. Navigate up button.
The next window that opens shows us the different defaults and things like that. Either it's their launcher, your home launcher, or SMS app or phone app and all of that. And so at the very top of the list is the browser defaults.
Browser app. None. Enlisted.
Browser app, we're told it's none. If I go down,
Call redirecting app. None. Caller ID and spam app. None. Digital assistant app. Google. Home app. Pixel launcher. Phone app. Phone. SMS app. Messages.
see what I'm doing? Okay, let's go here. Let's say we want to set our default. And by most of the time, though, your default's already the Chrome or whatever, but I didn't set any defaults. So when I tap on a URL, it would ask me as to what browser I want to use in opening such a URL. But so if I want to make sure that it just uses Chrome or Firefox or whatever browser it is that I prefer using, then I go to that first item that says App Browser Defaults.
Browser app. None.
Browser app, it says none. I'm going to tap here. And
Browser app.
we want to set it to Chrome. So here in my list,
Not checked. Radio button. Article reader. Enlisted. Not checked. Radio button. Brave. Not checked. Radio button. Chrome. Not checked. Radio button. DuckDuckGo. Not checked. Radio button. i3 reader. Not checked. Radio button. Firefox. Not checked. Radio button. Any browser. Not checked. Radio button.
so see I have a bunch of them. So I'm going to go back and tap on Chrome.
Not checked. Radio button. i3 reader. Not checked. Radio button. DuckDuckGo. Not checked. Radio button. Chrome.
Now that I've tapped on Chrome, it's now my default, even though TalkBack didn't say Chrome set as default. But if I put my finger down and explore, I'm going to find it saying that Chrome is checked.
Not checked. Radio button. i3 reader. Not checked. Radio button. DuckDuckGo. Checked. Radio button. Chrome.
So now Chrome is my default. So I'm going to swipe and go back.
Default apps. Browser app. Chrome. Enlisted.
All right, so now I want to change that default. Something happened and I'm not happy with how Chrome is behaving or something of the sort, and I want to change it to either DuckDuckGo, Firefox, or Brave, or Vivaldi, or Epic Browser, whatever browser, Kiwi, whatever it is that you have. What I'm looking for would be where it says opening links. So
Phone app. Phone.
I'm going to go
Opening links.
down here to opening links, tab.
Opening links. Back button.
Tapping on opening links opens up a bunch of apps that you can use for certain defaults if you so choose to do. Now I'm going to scroll till I find Chrome, since Chrome was the one that was set as my default, and I want to clear it so I don't have a default browser.
Brave. Don't open supported links. Enlisted.
Let's
Plugin
scroll
back.
up.
Open asterisk. Hello. Chase. Chrome. Don't open supported links. Device policy. Open enter menu. Open app. CV engineer. Open fin.
Let's scroll up here.
See Chroma keyboard. Open ChromaKeyboard.com. CV engineer. Open Chroma keyboard. Open Chroma Chrome. Don't open supported links.
Tap here,
Open by default. Back button.
and I'm told it is open by default.
Other defaults. Heading. Enlisted. You've chosen to launch this app by default for some actions.
Now below that, I'm going to find where it says clear defaults.
Clear defaults. Button.
Tapping here clears that defaults, and if I put my finger down again,
No default set.
I am told no default is set. Now I'm going to go back. So swipe back,
Opening links. Chrome.
swipe back again.
Default apps. Opening links.
And
List.
now that we're in default apps,
Browser app. None.
see now it says browser apps none. And to prove
Default
that,
browser app. Navigate up.
I
Button.
tab here to open that window.
Not checked. Radio button. DuckDuckGo. Enlisted. Not checked. Radio button. Chrome.
So my default is not set. So whenever I tap on any URL that requires a browser to open it, I will be presented with a list of browsers from which to choose to use for opening the link. I hope this helps you in determining when to use a default app or when to clear those browser defaults or whatever app defaults for that matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Warren. Fantastic stuff there as to how to set default apps on a phone. Definitely a good thing to know there, isn't it, Nima?
Yeah, that was very good. Thanks, Warren, for that. And now we get to the best
My
section
favourite
of the
part of
podcast.
the show, apparently, is going to be a good one this week. Nima promised, but we'll see if he can deliver. Listener emails, Warren.
Wow, we have
Nima.
5 users listening. Yeah, okay,
5.
great.
Wow. See, that's what happens when you get Warren, even if he's not here on the show. Our numbers go up. That's crazy.
We have no comments, but that's okay. I think this is going to get people laughing here. All right. We have an email from Lawrence Parfiri.
Ah.
It says here, please accept my apologies. I do not wish to invade your privacy. I am Barrister Lawrence Feely, a lawyer by profession. I wrote a previous email but no response, and in my first email I mentioned about my deceased client who is of the same origin with you since his death. I have received several letters from his bank where he made a deposit of $4.3 million before his death. The bank has asked me to provide his relatives or any of his relatives who can claim his funds, or it will be confiscated. And as I could not locate any of his relatives, I decided to contact you for this claim. I will give more clarification on the subject once I receive your response. Sincerely, Barrister Lawrence Feely, L.B. Hans. Hello, Mr.
wow.
Lawrence.
That's
Barrister. We would love it if you send us a $4 million. In fact, if you send us $4 million, I pledge to divide that $4 million for every member that is on our Twitter. So please follow us on Twitter if you're not following us as of yet. And if you do follow us, I pledge to split evenly the cost of $4 million minus the cost of us hosting this podcast evenly amongst everybody who's on Twitter.
Well, he said 4.3, so I think 300,000 would quite happily cover the cost of the podcast for a while, Nima. And then we
Yes.
split the 4 million.
Yes, I mean so. Now
Excellent.
I've got another one here
Excellent.
from Paul Williamson. Now my Google says this message seems dangerous, but I've opened it anyway. Let's see here. Attention. Actually, it's ATTN. I guess that's attention. Okay. Compliments of the day. My name is Paul Williams. I am an investment manager to an investor. My client, the investor, is late his fortune $75 million, which has been deposited in the vault of a financial institution, and it is in the process of being confiscated by the state after many years unclaimed. I have tried several times to locate his relatives, but all my efforts proved abortive due to certain clause on the deposit agreement between my late client, the depositor, and the financial institution. I thought it is wise to inquire from you if you would be interested to handle this project with me, to present you as his next of kin / beneficiary. Wow, they know how to spell beneficiary. Okay.
Jeez. Ay.
Funds which I believe will benefit you and me. Please, I will like you to keep this proposal as a top secret. Oh, damn, I just...
Oh, damn it. Oh, well. Sheesh.
If you're not interested... delete if you're not interested upon receipt of your reply. I will send you full details on how the business will be executed. I guarantee that this will be executed under a legitimate procedure that will protect us from any breach of the law. Really? Cool. Well, now we have 4-point-something million and 75 million. Let's see.
Now, Nima, can I just ask, have you... I'm sure you would have responded to these emails by now just to commence proceedings with these lovely gentlemen. I assume they're gentlemen. Although I'm not sure about
one
the
is
first
Paul
one.
and one
But
is Fury something.
Fury, I don't know, but Paul definitely sounds like it's a male's name. So you should really push this forward, my friend. And by episode 52, we might have some very good news for you all.
I hope so. And this one
Yes.
is Frank Coffee
Oh,
Maxwell.
wow. That doesn't ring any alarm bells, does it?
And this one also says it looks dangerous, but
Yeah.
I think we'll be dodgy and open it anyway. This one is a link, and it says 1366858 HL equals EN and AUTHUSER equals 1 and EXP ... Now, who wants me to open this link? Do you guys think I'll get 200 million if I open this link?
I know what you will get, and it ain't going to be 200 million. You might get 200 million viruses potentially, but I'm not so sure about money.
So I got these 3 emails in the spam
Lovely.
folder of the Anatad email, and in the absence of any listener emails, I thought it would be worth trying to win $75 million or whatever. So if you would like $79 million split with me,
79.3. Don't forget the 0.3 there,
yes,
Nima.
that point
Yes.
3. Please subscribe to our Twitter, our Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, and we'll evenly divide the proceedings between all of you. So
Absolutely.
if you're listening, definitely.
If we have a few hundred people on there or whatever, which is about our audience at the moment, then it divides quite nicely, really. It's not bad.
By the way, listeners, if you get any kind of emails that you don't know where it's from, it sounds strange, someone is offering you this, ask yourself, why would they pay it to you instead of just keeping themselves as the beneficiary?
Well, in particular, if the email states that it's unsafe to open, it probably means that it's unsafe to open.
Probably, yes. And if it has a link, don't click that.
Don't click it.
Don't
No.
open any attachments. In fact, better off, don't even open the email.
Well, me personally, I just don't open any attachments full stop. I don't care who it comes from.
Yeah,
Then you
if you're better off, like I said, don't
eliminate
even
a lot of
open it. If
issues.
you don't even know who William Coffee is or whatever the name is, just don't open.
Well, then it eliminates a lot of issues, doesn't it, Nima? A lot of issues.
It does. Yes. Sometimes they can know if you've opened an email, depending on if you deliver read receipts or something. So,
Yes, that's right.
you don't want to get any issues,
Right.
so let's avoid the issues. And
Well, you might need some tissues.
otherwise,
yes.
you'll need some tissues, and Warren will have to poo-poo it. So, or clean all the poo-poo from the tissues. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, God. Yeah. This is getting very ominous, and it's getting rather late, so...
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Well, everybody, I think would like to thank all of you if you stuck with us so far. We've had 5, but I'm pretty sure Marco's 1 and I'm at least 1 or 2. But if you've stuck with us, thank you so much for joining us. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to us on the podcast or on YouTube. AnatadPodcast.com is our podcast website. We thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you found this beneficial. Again, please share with us any tips, any comments, suggestions, feedback, any recordings that you might want to create, unboxings, anything is helpful. If you have something that you'd like to see, share that with us as well. If you know anybody that wants to come on, share with that as well. This really benefits all of us and will help us grow, but it'll help you as well to get some excellent content. So we definitely thank you for being on with us. I thank my Ukrainian friend, who's, I think, traveling back to, wherever he's, Australia
Zimbabwe.
tonight. Zimbabwe. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. And we will see you all next time. Thank you guys very much for being on with us today.
And thank you, everyone. We'll catch you next week.
Now the question is, do I know how to end the stream? End stream. There we go.